Hello, everyone. This is Coach Tim Campsall, and I'm excited to have a fellow business owner with us today. Something unique about my guest is that he ended up in construction despite having a major in psychology, a minor in sociology, and was a few credits away from an anthropology degree. So, wow, we'll have him tell us a little bit about that here in a minute. In his downtime, he actually prefers to be a homebody, and whether that's reading on the patio or hanging out around the fire pit. And he's most proud of his three children, whom he brags on whenever someone will listen, as well as the team that he has been fortunate to get to work alongside. It's my pleasure to welcome Jason to the show today. Hey, Jason.
Hey, Tim, thank you for having me.
Well, hey, let's start with having you introduce yourself. Tell us your full name, as well as a bit of your personal story, like where you were born, where you live, and about your family.
Sure. My name is Jason Gettum. I am the president of Gettum Remodeling. I was born in Rochester, New York, and my family found its way to Indiana through, it's a whole different story, but we found our way here. I currently reside in Barnesville, Indiana, just south of where our office is. I have a wife and three kids and a black lab named Mabel.
Fantastic. So tell us the psychology degree and sociology and anthropology. How did you find your way into construction?
Well, that's funny. I graduated and not really knowing what I didn't know at the time. They didn't really want to start out anybody as a graduate with any sort of living wage, I guess I would
Mm,
call it.
sure.
And it became pretty necessary for me to make a little bit more money than I was. In fact, I had been making more money being a laborer
Ah,
for my father's company at the time. And I just wasn't ready to go back to get a master's degree. I had all these high hopes of I wanted to be an addictions counselor. That's kind of what I wanted to
okay.
do. And very humble, right? But financially at the time, and it was not right for me. And quite honestly, I just couldn't make that money
Mm,
difference work out, so to
yeah.
speak. So I find myself with all these degrees, so to speak, and I'm thinking, how did I end up in construction? Um, Honestly, it's funny. I'm glad I got the degrees I did, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they all that knowledge and expertise on people makes for a great business owner, right? And leader and manager.
I would say that's what fascinates me the most. Even being an introvert, which I kind of am, I like to see the human connection and how people kind of tick. So yeah, it does definitely help.
So, Jason, is there a funny story that your family likes to tell about you that you'd be willing to share with us today?
Yeah, this is really, really embarrassing, but the
Oh,
family,
that's perfect. I love those
yeah, yeah,
ones.
yeah. And if they ever go back to watch this at some point, they'll probably get a chuckle. We were out to dinner one night, and I don't remember where or what the occasion was, but we were out to eat and we were talking, and the bill came, and I started signing the bill. I'd not filled out the duplicate yet, which was good in this case. So I get done writing out the bill and putting in the tip, and I left it on the table. And thankfully, the waitress had not come to collect it yet. My wife looked over and said, "You do realize you deducted the tip from the total?" I was like, so thankfully, I had not filled out the duplicate. I was able to correct that and leave the right one there. So yeah, that's my embarrassing moment. There's many others, but that's probably the best
That's
one.
awesome. Plus, minus, yeah, what's the difference, right?
If you pay by credit card, your name's at the top of that, and I did not want to be on social media looking at it, so I got that corrected.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Hey, Jason, how did the business come about and at what point did you have the confidence that you could run your own business?
Hmm. Man, that's a long story. I'll give you the cliff notes. My father started the business in 1987 as a custom home builder and did a little bit of renovation work on the side, mixed in with the other homes.
Mm,
And over time, he had done a few centerpiece homes for the Indianapolis Home Show.
yeah.
Really liked that. And one of his last ones, he had some models of the home and how it could be altered over time to fit growing families and changing needs and all that. And the feedback was pretty phenomenal. And I think that's kind of what got him thinking about making a shift to remodel and renovation full
Okay.
time.
Yeah.
Because they're two different animals, building new versus, renovating and remodeling. So fast forward, I think into the early 2000s was the last new home we ever built. And
Okay.
from here on out, 24, 25 years later, we're nothing but a residential remodel company. No new homes, no commercial work.
Yeah.
So
Wonderful.
as far as my introduction, I had a chance to come into the office as an estimator from the field. I was just a general laborer at the time, and they had a need for an estimator, and that's how I kind of got my foot in the door. And over the years, that was probably the year 2000. So over the years, I just kind of expanded my role, took on new things, and here I am today running the business.
Fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations. Jason, tell us a little bit more about the company. What's the name? What do you guys do? How do you help people?
Sure. Our company name is Gettum Remodeling. In the past year, we shifted our company name, and our corporate name is still Gettum Associates Incorporated. My father retired last year. We'll call it semi-retired, but he is retired, and we kind of felt the need to make it really succinct that who we are and what we did. So when you're driving down the road and somebody sees your truck, Gettum Remodeling seemed to be a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
Nobody really understood the associates, even though,
Sure.
it makes our associates were always the people that, our trade contractors and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so we just thought, we shifted our logo, made some changes there, but we're still the same company.
Yeah.
Our whole goal is to keep people in their homes. Our company motto is don't move, improve. You may already be in your dream home. And, there's a lot of families out there that love their big yards and their neighbors and their schools. And when they go out and market and look around, they sometimes will make the decision to stay in their home, but it needs to be, altered for their current daily use. And that's where we can.
I love it. I love it. You may already be in your dream home. That's fantastic. So, Jason, we know that successful businesses can get stuck at various stages of their growth. So tell us about one of your biggest challenges and maybe somebody who came alongside you and helped you through it.
Well, especially in our field of work, there's a lot of challenges, right? We're in people's homes. There's got to be that level of trust, which I think we do a great job. But we're no different than any other small business. There's a lot of plates to spin in the air, a lot of balls to keep up from hitting the ground, that kind of thing. I'd say the biggest challenge for us is growth, especially with the changing economic times and pricing and just general consumer worry. Thankfully, I think we're set up to grow, but it's got to be cautious. It's got to be slow. But I think that's where most people find a challenge, is when to make that next step. And it's really hard to scale, especially a business like ours.
Yeah. So I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, Jason,
Sure.
and ask you to pick three people in your business owner journey that you're most grateful for them being there to help you with the business's growth. So who are those three people and how'd they help you?
Ooh, geez. Well, first and foremost, my father. None of us have a business degree. So, we have to learn these things as we go. But he has been very successful in finding the right way to run a business. And I kind of absorbed a lot of that, and he's helped me through a lot of things. Second that comes to mind would be our head of sales at the time that I came into the office was very influential in training me, my role at the time of being an estimator and pushing me to be better like that. And he was instrumental in keeping distance between my father and myself. My dad I don't think really wanted me to have anything to do with the business because he knew how hard it was.
Yeah, right.
Gary said, if I'm going to bring him in, you're going to stay off his back. You let me take it. So Gary was very influential for me. The third one's kind of hard. I'd say this isn't a person. It's more of an association, but being in a peer group for several years was very, very good.
Yeah.
Just seeing how everybody, it was funny just to make the connections of people all having the same kind of issue and having to work through it
Yeah.
and making a lot of friends along the way. That was very influential for me.
Yeah. It can it can be life changing to go from feeling like, we're the only one that's having the challenge or the struggle or the doubt or the fear, right?
Mm,
And then realizing that, it's just part of business ownership and others are are working through the same challenges and struggles and some people are on the other side, so that gives hope and right and then the misery likes company idea, right? Of knowing, oh my goodness, here are some other people that are exactly where I'm at, and now we can encourage and motivate one another, right?
yep, it is. It is so true. Even in the associations I hang with these days, it's you may think you're all alone, but chances are there's a lot of other people having the same struggles, and that's kind of comforting, I think.
Yeah. And the reality is that we're only alone if we choose to be, right? Because there's enough
That's correct.
things out there that we can be part of if we take the initiative and right and join something or reach out to a friend and have a conversation.
Right, right. Yep.
Jason, the path to building a successful business has a lot to do with both our mindset as well as the things that we learn along the way. So, what would you say is your biggest learning as a business owner?
Oh, geez. That's a really good point. I think it's especially small business owners. We don't consider ourselves in the corporate world, of course. We've got 15 total employees.
Yeah.
But as the owner that's supposed to be, steering the ship, so to speak, it's really easy to get trapped inside your own head.
Mm.
And I think learning that it's okay not to know the answer for everything.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
a good example, I struggle with imposter syndrome and
Mhm.
I thought I was the only one. Well, I'm not the only one. I mean, there's a
No.
lot of people that feel that way because they're trying to run a business and maybe not know 100% how to do it, but
Yeah.
they're doing the best they can. And you start to form some self doubt if you don't step back occasionally and say, you know what, we've made 1% incremental progress all the time adds up over time.
It sure
And it
does.
doesn't have to be a home run every change you make or whatever decision you make. And you just got to be a little bit humble about what happens. I mean, this isn't a perfect science.
Yeah. Yeah.
Part art, part science, I think.
Yeah, the imposter syndrome is huge. It's a big deal, and right, a lot of times, right, we're faced with challenges or obstacles or opportunities or unknowns or new things that we haven't experienced before. And it can be very easy to in our head start chirping that, we're not good enough or not capable or not able or whatever those chirps are. And yeah, get to your point, right? Getting out of our head and going, oh wow, yeah, you know
Yeah,
what? Here's some other people that are going through similar things and have some advice or some tips or some
right.
thoughts on it and realize that yep, we're not alone. It's just the path of business ownership, right? We're going to be faced with these unknowns all the time because that's just part of the journey of building our business and creating a better version of our company and being able to grow, like you said, right?
I agree. It's a challenge for me, but as I mentioned, being slightly introverted, it's hard to feel like I'm a good leader
Mm.
sometimes.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty diplomatic in that I want feedback, and I think I have the right people to be able to provide it.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I have to say, right? But I like to involve other people.
Yeah.
I think the pressure of making most decisions all on my own is not good for me.
Yes. Right.
But ultimately, I have to do what's best for the whole entire team, and that's the way I look at it. Um,
Yeah.
so
Well,
yeah, it's
I, I,
interesting.
I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing because I know that there are hundreds of people that are going to be listening to this and going, "Oh my goodness, I have imposter syndrome too, and I didn't want to admit it, or I didn't think it was okay to
Yeah,
say it out loud. And now that you've just given a whole lot of people relief and confidence in being able to move forward. So thank you for
hopefully
sharing.
you're welcome.
What's one piece of advice or guidance that you would have for a business owner who's feeling stuck or discouraged in their business?
Well, there's a lot of things and a lot of ways you could go about that. First of all, what we've just been talking about is don't ever hesitate to reach out. I'm very lucky. I'm very involved in associations in the building industry around Indianapolis, and I've gotten to the point where even my competitors I'm friends with, and I know that I could give them a call if I have a really serious issue. But privately, if you don't want to go that route, there's business coaching, as you're well aware of.
Yeah.
Lots of other peer groups. I was in one that was in non-competes from all over the country, and that's a really good perspective and good people to lean on because they know what you're going through without knowing everything because they're not in your area. And
Yeah.
that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways to cope with that. There's business books, there's all sorts of online forums for this kind of thing. But the worst thing you could do is just struggle with it on your own.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's too much for anybody to kind of bear, I think.
Yeah. And a lot of people do struggle with it on their own because they don't feel like it's okay to share, or they don't want to bring somebody else into that struggle or that
Right.
that frustration. They certainly don't want to take it home and have their family worried about them, and a lot of folks they don't feel like they can share it at work because they don't want their employees to be
That's right.
worried about what's the implication of that. And so yeah,
Yep. Yep.
it can feel lonely at the top if we allow ourselves to stay in our own head and in our own mind, and don't bring other people into that conversation with us.
Yep. I agree.
So you mentioned you being good friends with your competitors. And, we call that co-opetition, right?
I like
Where
it.
if you have an abundance mentality, there's more than enough business to go around. So right, why not, right? Help others, other fellow business owners, because we're all going to be better because of it. So that's awesome
I agree.
that you have that mentality. Yeah, good for
I
you.
would I would add that some of the newer contractors that I've met around our area and around the greater Indianapolis area, I could see the look of, oh my God, I can't talk about my own business around people. And they don't know what they don't know. But that is the fact. I mean, there is enough work in our market to go around that you shouldn't feel threatened. In fact, our organizations are to, in the consumer's eyes, kind of bring respect to what we do because contractors have not the greatest name. I mean,
Sure.
most
Yeah.
people are fearful of contractors, and the more contractors that we could get up to a standard that the consumer expects, the better we all are as an industry. And I don't take any shame for sharing knowledge with somebody that needs it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reality is that, sharing knowledge is really, right, sharing common best practices that people can read on their own if they choose to. So,
That's
right,
right.
it's not like it's a
I'm
competitive,
just giving them the clip notes. I'm like
right? Yeah,
saving
exactly.
them a little bit of time.
Yeah. It's not like you're sharing the secret sauce and the peek under the tent. And right, at the end of the day, business is still about know, like, and trust. So, your
Absolutely.
company's going to run into different people than your competitors are running into. And I like what you said. If everybody is raising the bar and the standard, then the reputation becomes better, and more people are open to hiring contractors. So it's a
I
win-win,
agree.
it seems like.
Yeah.
Jason, as you think about the next year, where's an area that either you're currently feeling stuck, or an area where you want to move faster but just haven't figured it out in terms of achieving your long-term vision for the business?
Yeah. It kind of goes back to what we talked about a little bit earlier. I'm cautiously awaiting kind of to see what's going to happen in the next quarter because we want to grow a little bit. Not I don't have any interest in being some huge company. That's not what I want. but a little bit of growth would be necessary. And, right now it's not that the interest isn't there for our services, because it is. People are just very cautious right now. The sales cycle is extremely slow.
Yeah.
So for me to just, start adding staff and trying to get a little wider doesn't make the most sense to me right now.
Mhm.
But I think we're in a pretty good place to when that time hits, we'll be ready to go. It's a little frustrating because it doesn't happen as quick as maybe I would.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There's a ton of uncertainty in the marketplace right now. And right. And you said it, people are slower to make decisions or slower to commit and they're waiting for some signs that that may or may not happen, right? And in terms
Correct.
of right things that we none of us can control. And yeah,
Yeah.
to your point, right? It can be frustrating because the sales cycle's taking longer, the certainty and the ability to estimate and project what's going to happen right in the next 90 days is a little bit more ambiguous than it has been in the past.
I agree. But if history repeats itself, as people get used to the state of the world right now and everything around it, they become more comfortable with it. And it's like, you know what, hadn't really changed that much in this amount of time. Let's move forward, and that'll happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not down about it. I'm just patiently
Yes.
observing.
Yeah. Well, and I like too what you said about the, hiring versus sales. It's like, okay, what's the, that this is a, it's a balancing act for every business in terms of, how much do we lean forward, right? And bring on the next employee versus, do we wait for the sales to come in first and then hire and right. And it's always a challenge because if the sales start picking up too much and we don't have the staff, then right? Then that can be a challenge in terms of delivering the goods. And then on the other side, if we hire too soon and we don't have the sales, right, we then have overhead that we have to absorb.
And the onboarding process for a company like ours, both our field employees and our design and sales staff, that's not a instantaneous thing.
Yes.
It's not like an IT worker that has a certain skill set that's going in to do a certain skill. We have a lot of soft skills we rely on with our team,
Yeah.
and that doesn't come overnight.
Right. Yeah.
So it is a challenge. That's probably my number one challenge right now: to grow or not to grow, and how does that look?
Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, right, all of us small businesses, right, cash flow is usually always an important thing to be paying attention to. So we don't want to, right, we never want to overextend ourselves and right and not have the safety net of a healthy cash flow.
Correct.
Yeah. Last question, Jason. Jim Rohn said that we become the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. So as you think about that quote, what advice would you have for business owners who are feeling overwhelmed and they're trying to do it all on their own?
I know this is repetitive. I keep going back to associations. Be around people that are successful. To me, yes, I spend a great deal of time at work. I also stay at home quite a bit on purpose. I'm around a good group of people at least once a week playing hockey, which I love. They're all very smart, intelligent, fun people. And I spend a lot of time in the associations I'm involved with. So I'm around people, and thankfully, the majority of them are very successful. And even if they don't do what I do, just being around them, I feel like I'm always picking something up,
Yeah.
whether it's a competitor, a new home builder, whatever the case is. But being around people that you like and are very similar and similarly motivated, and you see the success of them, is really pretty strong.
Yeah.
And it's always worth the time taken to be around those folks.
So as an introvert yourself, what would you say to other introverts who are like, oh, but networking and socializing, that's not really for me?
Well, I used to be that guy that would go, sit in the corner. And I think you could point out the introverts pretty easy. I know in early days of going to peer groups and other things with associations, I was fortunate to be around some leaders in those groups that will pretty much force you. You go sit in the table. If you don't know him, go sit down and talk to him. And it becomes a little more natural.
Yeah.
Um, I still have that. It's not the fear of the people or the meeting or anything, but just the fear of going, the anxiety of it, right?
Yeah.
But you got to force yourself to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, because once you get there, you're fine, right? It's all natural.
Yeah.
I claim I'm an introvert, but if I start talking to somebody, it's pretty natural for
Yeah.
me at
Yeah.
that point. I have that little yin and yang, I guess, about my personality.
I like what you said about pushing yourself through it, because the growth and the benefit comes on the other side of our comfort zone, right?
I forget exactly where or who, but I was at a seminar or something along those lines, and the best thing you can do as a person is make yourself uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing. You don't grow without being uncomfortable.
Yes. Yes.
When we all struggle and come out of it, that's where I think you see the most growth.
Yeah.
So it's something to be proud of, I think, for everybody.
And in fact, our comfort zone ends up expanding when we push ourselves out of it and learn and evolve and develop some additional skills or knowledge. And it sounds like that's where you're at in terms of these groups, right? As you maybe it was uncomfortable in the beginning, you pushed yourself through it, and now it's like, yeah, sure,
Right.
there's still some anxiety, but
Yeah.
I know it's going to be fine, and I get a ton of value out of it, and I'm adding value, and so it's become your comfort zone, it sounds like.
Yeah, and for me, as being a business owner, it translates into your team and how you can collaborate and speak with them. And I didn't used to love running meetings, but it's become a little more comfortable to me.
Yeah.
And that's part of just pushing myself to go to different meetings and various events that I may not have wanted to go to at the time, but it's definitely helped.
Yeah. You also mentioned about, people, asking questions or you sharing advice with people. Another hesitation I hear from folks is, well, I don't want to bother them, right? They're a bigger company than me. They're probably busy. They probably don't have time for me. So what are your thoughts on that in terms of folks who are just have a nervousness about approaching somebody and bothering them?
Right. Geez, I don't know. I'd say start small. If you could, kick up some small talk with somebody when you see him, or just make an acquaintance out of them. I mean, just introduce yourself as a start. Maybe the next time, talk a little bit more. And after a while, I think people let their guards down naturally once they feel comfortable with somebody.
Yeah.
Um, I've been guilty of going to some of these, staring at people that I admired and I knew was successful, and I didn't want to speak a word to them because I felt lower than them,
Yeah.
But once you get to know them a little bit and see them around other people, you realize that they're people as well. And you know what? Maybe it's okay to ask them a question.
Yes.
You don't know if you try unless you try. So
Yeah. The other thing I've heard from a few folks is, we've all been there, right? And so there is this idea of wanting to pay it forward, right? Of,
yeah,
somebody did it for me, and now I'm at a different level in my company, and I want to be able to help others. And so,
right. I tried recently to try to look out for newer contractors
okay.
that are kind of seem to be at that stage of they may be sole proprietors and working for themselves, and
Yeah.
maybe they just hired somebody else and they're on their way to kind of grow a little bit, and to try to just not say, hey, you should get into this organization, but hey, when you're ready, let me know and I will introduce you to people, because I think it is important.
Yeah.
I was introduced by other folks into the things that I've done, and if I hadn't, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Sure. Yeah. Fair enough.
So, but yeah, I think it's very important to give people that opportunity.
Fantastic. Jason, it sounds like you've been blessed with some incredible people who have helped you on your business journey. If they were all here with us today, what would you want to say to them?
Thank you. Thank you for being them. I mean, we have a unique team. Everybody has got their own little personalities and interests and hobbies, but there's a common thread, that I think unintentionally when they got hired. But now that I look back on it, they all have a common thread. They're just good people. Yeah. And I would rather work around good people, and the talent is secondary. You can teach things, you teach people how to do things, but how people treat others and how they treat our clients is a really hard thing to teach.
Yeah, very cool. Well, Jason, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Thanks so much for being on the show.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks for listening to the Self-Made is a Myth show. Please help spread this movement by liking and subscribing to our show and following us on Facebook and LinkedIn. To join our movement, go to bemadtogether.com. Okay, folks, that's a wrap. Please pay it forward and be sure to tune in next time to the Self-Made is a Myth podcast.